Hello and welcome to From the Desk of my TV's Randolph Communications monthly feature. I am Tim Moody. I am the Public Information Officer with the Randolph County School System. Each month I sit down with our superintendent, Dr. Stephen Gainey, and we have the opportunity to share with our community some of the great things that are going on in our schools and in our district. Dr. Gainey, as we sit here, we are now into summer. A week ago yesterday, we had 6 graduation services. Of course, earlier back in May, our early college had their graduation ceremony, but our 6 traditional schools was last Tuesday. So I know you were able to attend one, if not more, events. So just if you would, share some of your thoughts from that special day.
Well, Tim, I did attend the Randolph High School graduation, and I'm gradually, after 3 years, I'm making it around the county. I have a couple of schools I have not seen graduation. I've not been to an Eastern graduation yet or to a Southwest graduation, but we'll get to them in the next couple of years. But the Randolph High School graduation was great. The kids, it was great to recognize them and for their accomplishments and all, and see the community all come together. Staff did a great job. They were excited for the kids. One thing that stood out to me was at the end of the graduation, and I was just walking with the staff during the recessional, and they stopped and they formed like a tunnel for the graduates to walk through as they walked out of the stadium. And what I thought was really neat about the Randolph staff was I watched the graduates, and I didn't see a single teacher. As the graduates came through, they would stop and speak to different staff members, teachers and all, and I didn't see a single teacher who did not get approached by multiple graduates. I thought that was huge for the relationships that staff, I've always felt like they do a great job of relationships on that campus and in all of our campuses, but I thought that was a great positive sign for the relationships between the students and the staff at that school. And a lot of it starts with Dennis Hamilton, the principal. I think that's one of his strong suits is building a positive school climate with high expectations, and that was just exciting. And that, that wasn't, I didn't go there looking for that, but it caught my eye, and it was so obvious as a positive for that school climate, so and school culture. So great night, and all the other high school principals were excited. The community seemed excited, and so we closed down another school year in a positive manner with high school graduation. And you did mention the early college. We may have mentioned that earlier in another one of our broadcasts, but did attend that graduation, and April Thompson to be a first-year principal and have just as smooth a graduation. She looked like a veteran up there. It looked like she could have been doing a graduation for the 20th time. So a great event there as well back in May.
And then speaking of the graduates, with the end of the school year, there are accolades and recognitions. And one of the things that I noticed as during the graduation time was the amount of scholarship money that our 2016 graduates collectively were able to earn. And if you'll indulge me just for a moment, I would like to just share some of these scholarship numbers with you and with our community. Eastern Randolph High School, $4.1 million in scholarship dollars. Providence Grove High School was at 5.3. Randleman was just shy of $3 million. Randolph Early College was $1 million. Southwestern Randolph High School, $6.8 million. Trinity just a little under $5.4 million, and Wheatmore High School at about $3.9 million. That's a lot of scholarship money. And so when I run through those numbers, what goes through your mind?
Well, the first thing that pops in my mind is thank goodness we have some great counselors in the school system, because I think that's a direct reflection. If you haven't worked in a school, you may not understand all that school counselors do. And school counselors do so much behind the scenes that people don't see, but kids benefit from it. And I've always thought that school counselors are the great ones, and we have some great ones at all of our high schools and elementary schools and middle schools, and they know how to get students headed in their interest, in areas of their interest, and also how to find ways to get them to schools and this scholarship money and all. It just speaks volumes to our school counselors. And I worry sometimes that when they start talking budgets and all that at state level, we talk about this can go away or this can go away, But I just think if you haven't been on that campus and seen a comprehensive high school work, you need to be real careful what can go away, because you can't just say, well, we don't need this classified staff member or this classified position or this position, or maybe we could get by with one less school counselor, whatever, or one less teacher. That's not how it works in school business. And here's a direct reflection right here. You have counselors who really worked hard with kids, and I bet you if you look back at some things, you'd find some of these kids who have scholarships they would tell you their relationship started with their school counselor in 9th grade. If not, the first time they came over as an 8th grader to visit the school. So the accolades go to the kids, and I just want to say thank you to the counselors, because that's how that happens. And yes, teachers play a role in it. There's teachers who they'll be in there, helping the counselors with these kids and the conversation. So can't discount the teachers and other staff members and principals, but wow, that speaks volumes for what our counselors do every day for kids.
We had a Teacher of the Year event back in May, and as timing would have it, it came right after we did our last interview, so we did not have an opportunity to talk about the winner. I think we did mention who the finalists were, but on the heels of that, can you just talk a little bit about the winner in that event?
Well, the event was a great night, and you wind up with the finalists, and you're looking at all the finalists thinking, any one of these are great teachers of the year. And then at one point we recognized a teacher of the year from every school, so we had 31 teachers recognized. But Brooke Barham was the teacher of the year for the school system, and I've been in Brooke's classroom. I've seen her in action, and I'm telling you, there may be a lot of teachers in North Carolina that they're equal, but there's no one better as an elementary teacher than Brooke Barham. And what I love about this school system is it seems like people, they don't, Brooke is early in her career. We have people early in their career, veterans, people in the middle of the road, maybe 10 to 15 years. And it seems like this school system, the teachers all they share information, and they learn things from each other. And Brooke's a great example of that, of taking guidance from other teachers and getting better, but also being willing to share with other teachers. And if you went in her classroom, you know why she could be Teacher of the Year in any school system in the state or any school system in the country. And so we recognized one teacher that night as Teacher of the Year, but I would contend that we have several hundred that could be recognized that same way. It's just a great, we're fortunate in our classrooms. We have great teachers system-wide. So congratulations to Brooke at Trindale Elementary, but also congratulations to all our teachers, because they really do a great job every day in classrooms.
One of the things that we do, as you know, each month in these interviews is to try to share with our community some of the highlights from our board meetings, and we typically have a board meeting every month. The month of June is a bit unorthodox in that we have 3. We've already had one, I think it was on June 6th. We have another one scheduled for June 20th, and then at the end of the month, on June 29th, we'll have our 3rd meeting. Now, as this is broadcast, those meetings will have already happened, but could you maybe share with our community while we sort of modify the schedule for the month of June and have 3 meetings as opposed to our usual 1?
Tim, I don't think it's really why we modify. It's why we have that opportunity to modify. And we have that opportunity because we have a very supportive board. Our Board of Education is, many times, we've had to have some special meetings here or there, and they've pretty much said, if you need it, tell us when, we'll be there. And a perfect example of that was March 2015. The school system had an opportunity to gain some extra funding from the state, from E-rate money and some leftover rates to top money. That amount was $2.4 million. And I want to say by the end we wound up with $2.6 million. But we had to put in an application. And it was going to be we could use it to upgrade our networks in all our schools system-wide. And to put in the application, we had to have it in by a certain date. We didn't have a board meeting before the due date that was coming up. And we had to have board approval for the application. That was part of the process. And I remember calling our chair, Mr. Cutler, and saying, here's what we've got. And he said, tell me when the board needs to be there. We'll have a meeting. So when you have a board that's that supportive, and their focus is on what's good for our school and our kids, and that's helpful. Now June, this best I can tell, this school system has always had looks like they've always had 2 meetings in June. One is an early June meeting that's focused on personnel items that we have to work through at that time of the year because of statute and stuff of that nature. But then the June 20th meeting is the regular June meeting. Now, what's happened with our first June meeting is, over time, talking with the board chair, we've had some other things we might be ready to be dealt with, like some policies and stuff, and he's said, if you need to put it on the agenda, do it. So now June 6th, that first meeting, is beginning to look a little bit like a regular board meeting, not quite as long. Then we have June 20th, our regular meeting, and then June 29th is one that, in talking with the board and the board chair, we've kind of, over the last couple of years, decided, let's have one right there before the fiscal year closes, with all our procedures we need to do. So we have it the last night before the fiscal year closes, and that helps Todd Lowe tremendously with his finance closeout operations he has to do for the fiscal year. But again, here we go with this. With our Board of Education says, if you need to put some other things on the agenda, do it. We're here. So I think the real picture I hope people are seeing is, we've got a very supportive Board of Education that's pretty much saying, if you need this, then do it. We'll be there. And that's how June has developed into the way it developed. Now, is it 3 board meetings? Seems like a lot, but it's been helpful to staff and helpful to the school system because we want to do things the right way and get everything like the fiscal year tied up and closed out the way we need to.
So as you discuss those meetings, as you frame that as something that we get to do as opposed to something that we have to do, I think we could probably say the same thing about the county commissioner meeting, which we had back on May the 31st, a very important meeting regarding the budget. And so I know you probably want to share a little bit of information on that.
Well, the 2 groups I enjoy interacting with the most in this community is the Board of Education and the county commissioners. And I enjoy working with a lot of groups, but I do enjoy working with both groups, and did get to present May 31st to the county commissioners our budget request for the 16-17 fiscal year for our local budget request. We had talked to them back in January in our joint work session with the board and the county commissioners. That was our 3rd year we had done that. And I hope we're building the relationship that they pretty much know in January they're going to see it then. Nothing has changed in the 3 years from the January work session until May. We have tried to continually work down our request and our total cost, and so this year I was very proud to go to them, and we're asking for a 1% supplement increase, and we're asking for continuation cost money. And the continuation cost, as I told them, that's because of benefit changes as far as percentages or rates. And I told them I don't think continuation costs will ever go away. What was different this year was we didn't ask for any capital outlay money because our commissioners, as I've mentioned on several other of our recordings, I've said, in 2 short years, they've increased our capital outlay funding, our annual funding, by $750,000. And they did they finished it last May. Or last June, and so our 9-year facility upgrade repair plan is fully funded by them. So we'll see where it goes. One of the things I've stressed with the commissioners is I want them to trust us, and I want them to believe we're being transparent with them. And the only way for them to believe we're being transparent is for us to be transparent and us to share accurate information with them. So I've felt a tremendous amount of support from our commissioners, just like from our Board of Education. So exciting times are coming. We'll tell you, when I talked about our total bill, Tim, the first year we went in, we took a total request, I guess a request, not a bill, but our total request back in May of 2014 for the 14-15 year was $2,071,080. Okay. Last year, in May of 15, when we went in for 15-16, we took a total request, current expense, capital outlay, $1,761,000. This year, our total request, when we went in for 16-17, is $1,582,000. And I will stick to that as superintendent of the school system. We're going to continue to stick to our plan and try to be as consistent as we can. Whereas if we put something out there and we don't get it funded one year, there's going to have to be a good reason why it's not going to appear the next year. And so I believe I've told you before, I really liked the article in the Courier Tribune in January after we had our joint meeting. There was a quote in there about where I'd said we stuck to the plan, but I'm really proud that every year we've brought down the request, continually brought the total request down. So we need to be cognizant of the economic situation we're in and the fact that the commissioners have a lot of groups they have to provide funding for.
So as we sit here, today is June 15th. We're into summer. Students and teachers are obviously not in school, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing happening. Certainly you don't close the doors at the end of one school year and then just open them up a couple of months later. Can you talk a little bit about what goes into the transitioning from one school year into another? Because even though the general public may not see all the behind the scenes things going on, there's new staff coming in, there's retirees and others that are going out. What takes place in the transition of one school year into another?
Well, Tim, one of the first things, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of a principal. Probably one of the first things you're working on is getting your staff. We do what a lot of the public probably doesn't realize is we give the principals their allotment of positions in somewhere around late March, early April. So as a principal, you're kind of closing one year and planning for next year when you get to mid-spring, if not a little bit earlier. I used to say as a principal, kind of when we got to January, I was running 2 school years. One was the one we were in, and one was getting ready for next year. So staffing's priority number one for principals, and because getting the right person in that classroom is paramount to success as a school. I'll tell you another one's key is just developing that master calendar for your campus. So you don't have, if you can help it, you don't have the band concert on the same night as a home football game, and now you have not only overcrowding on your campus, but you have parents who might be having to make 2 different decisions, and that's not even a good example, Tim, because the band will be at the home football game, as the marching band. So you just got to be careful there. And then, when you go to the central office level, what are we doing in the summer? Well, doing a tremendous amount of planning with principals, and you get a chance to spend some individual time with principals as needed, but also we're watching numbers. We'll see if the enrollment projections we had for the allotment for a school are playing out the way we thought they would. And if they're not, then we have to start talking to principals about, well, we need to pull this position back, until we see what the numbers are, because your student numbers drive your staffing allotment. And then we're working on budgets, we're working on, what is coming from the state, we're watching legislation, just a conglomerate of things. But the principal's job in the summer is probably equally challenging as during the year, but a different kind of challenge. Because once those kids come back, it's 10 months it's pretty wide open, and it's a lot of fun for them. And I think I've told you this before. The one thing I miss is that piece. I've missed it every day I haven't been a principal, is the piece of when those kids came back and the excitement, the energy they brought back to the campus. The first wave is the teachers coming back. They bring some energy. And then here come the kids and the place comes alive again.
Well, so then part of the transition then, among other things, is new staff coming in, with, whether it's teachers or other staff persons. So I'm going to let you be a cheerleader now for the Randolph County School System, and if for a prospective teacher or a candidate to work in our school system, what would you say about Randolph County School System as to why this is the place to be?
Well, let me say one more thing before we go there, Tim. I thought about this about the summertime. Let's don't forget our maintenance facility guys, because there's some things they can't do when the kids and the teachers are there. For instance, within a day or two of school closing at Eastern Randolph High School, a cooking lab was completely taken down and demolished, and it's going to be refurbished. That's part of our 9-year facility upgrade repair plan. So there are big projects, and so Larry Chilton and his group, they're going as hard as they can, because they know there's some projects they can only do when the campus is clear of staff and students. And then you have the transportation staff. I mean, there's things that are going on with maintenance of buses that Derek has to do them. Derek Clark and his group have to do them now. They don't ever have another time of the year other than the summer when all the buses are parked and they can go get a large number and bring in as they need. But so your question, and I hate to get off topic there, but I do believe those two groups need some recognition because they do great work for the system. But so why should somebody come to the Randolph County School System? Well, here's speaking straight from the heart for somebody who joined this system July 1 of 2013 and finishing year 3. I don't think you're going to find anywhere better people to work with, okay? And I'm talking about it's not all about as a classroom teacher. I have my classroom and I've got my class list and here we go. To be a successful classroom teacher, you've got to have support from colleagues around you, whether it's just the camaraderie, the collegial support, whether it be during planning period or lunch period, have somebody to talk to, and just feeling comfortable. You've got to have that level of comfort. And I believe that is surpassed in no other school system, the level we have here. Maybe somebody has what we have, but I don't think anybody has anymore. And I can tell you, I go back to my first year teaching. I just think about the people who, I don't know how to say it any other way, but they put their arms around me and said, you're going to teach math. I was a high school math teacher, but there's a whole lot more we've got to do for you. And it was very obvious over the 3 years with them, from Joan Thomas, Betty Buffington, Barbara Blaylock, Joe Lapp, Bob Wolf, Mark Schinkelberg. Now, of all those people I just named, only one of them was my assigned mentor, Betty Buffington. Then Tom Dixon, my principal. Only one of them was my official assigned mentor. But the rest of them did just as much supporting me as a young teacher. And I say as a young teacher, first year teacher, well, it's not much different whether you're a veteran or an inexperienced teacher. When you come to a new system, you need that support, and I've changed, I've been in one system twice now, and when I went back to it the second time, it was almost like so much had changed. I needed that support then. When I was in another systems, I worked in 3 systems, counting Randolph, and I just tell you, I don't think there's, and every one of those I felt like the support I was given by people around me was the key to my happiness there. I enjoy this system. I enjoy interacting with the teachers, with the principals. I enjoy interacting with the Board of Education. I get a lot of support. I learn different things from different groups, and so why you want to come here is, as a principal, when I was working and hiring teachers and when I was in HR, when you have the certification to do what we're hiring you for, then you've been through school and you have that. And we're going to assume that's going to, we're going to work with you and help you develop there. But the other piece you need to know is not just coming in with credentials as an employee. It's also, you need to know we're going to put our arms around you and support you the best we can. And I just believe that doesn't happen other places like it does here. And it's not Stephen Gainey, superintendent. It's all those teachers out there and those principals that are doing it at school level and at central service level. There are people that come, central service is a big adjustment. Come in, you worked at school level and you come to central service, that's an adjustment. I remember my first 2 months, when I left being a high school principal, it was just a total different work environment than I'd experienced up to 16 years of my career. So, but there again, people help me adjust. So I don't know, Tim, there's not a special silver bullet as far as what solves your teacher retention or your teacher turnover rate. But if there's one thing that I think that comes the closest to being that, it's the relationships between staff, members, and I believe this school system has it. And it was here long before I ever got here, and I'm just enjoying being a part of it.
Right, and I am too. Thinking from a personal perspective, I've also been here about 2.5 years, and I can certainly echo those sentiments as far as relationships and the network of support.
And Tim, I'd say I'll take it a little bit further, and I hope staff realizes how much I value this. I go visit schools, and a lot of times principals walk around with me, or sometimes they don't. But the thing that just really just goes to the top of my list is when I'm walking down halls and teachers walk with me and talk to me, and that relationship building, they want me to see what's going on in their classroom, and they're proud of that school, And I just hope we can continue to build those relationships where they're comfortable sharing, and because in the end, it's all about the kids, and our relationships as adults are only going to impact kids in a positive or negative way. And quite frankly, I believe they have a very positive influence on the kids in the Randolph County School System, and I have too in this system. And they have enjoyed every minute here, and they've had a chance to experience those positive relationships with staff. I hear my kids talk about, teachers that they don't have as their teacher, but they know as much about some of those teachers as they do their own teacher. And to me, that is fantastic.
Well, Dr. Gainey, thank you. Randolph County School System is a great place to be, and we're very fortunate and thankful that we can get out in front of the community each month and share with you all, with the help of Randolph Communications, the good things that are going on. So thank you again for spending this time with us, and we will see you in July.